Hi everyone, welcome to the Movieception Show. My name is Fariba, and earlier this morning we actually got the first trailer for Wonka, which I am super excited to see. First off, this is gonna be the third time that we're seeing a Wonka type of movie on the big screen. First we've seen it with Gene Wilder, and then of course we saw it with Johnny Depp, and now Timothée Chalamet is going to take on this very iconic role of Willy Wonka. Now, of course, this is going to be a slightly different sort of story because it's not going to follow upon what we already know from the books, which funny enough, I have read, but it's going to be a far more different sort of story. Instead of going straight into the whole plot, the whole premise of Wonka having, 5 tickets, these 5 golden tickets, where at least one of the 5 children will end up, inheriting his business. Instead of focusing on that, this is actually going to be far more of a prequel showing kind of the rise and the discovery of who Wonka is before he had, built his chocolate factory industry. So that's going to be a very interesting take to see, how they're going to showcase the origin stories. I know, at least with the Johnny Depp version, they kind of touched upon the whole origin of his story, what happened, what inspired him, what really was a catalyst for his story to kind of, decide to go into the chocolate making business. And now we're going to see a far more of a deeper idea, deeper storytelling of Wonka's backstory and what it meant for him to, basically build his chocolate factory. So yeah, I'm super excited to see how this all works out. Again, this is going to be the third time that we're seeing a Wonka related story on the big screen. I think one of the biggest questions going into it is, of course, how Chalamet is going to, reenact, Wonka, this famous character we all know about. Is it going to be far more like the Gene Wilder, where it's he's a bit more, far more outgoing, relaxed, but also having a touch of this hint of the suspense behind him? Or are we going to have something far more of a Johnny Depp, where he definitely has a bit more of the subtle creepiness about him? But yeah, I think overall, we'll see how it all goes looking into the trailer, because the trailer is probably going to give us an idea of what kind of Wonka we're going to be dealing with and what sort of redemption that Chalamet is going to, portray with this character. So yeah, I think without further ado, let's get right down into the trailer for Wonka.
I've spent the past 7 years traveling the world perfecting my craft. You see, I'm something of a magician, inventor, and chocolate maker. So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that.
Oh, wow, I'm loving this.
Mr. Wonka,
wow.
I can say you're a man of great ingenuity.
What are you doing?
I'm making chocolate, of course. How do you like it? Dark, white, nutty, absolutely insane.
Many people have come here to sell chocolate. They've all
Very
been
centric.
crushed by the chocolate cartel. You can't get a shop without selling chocolate, and you can't sell chocolate without a shop.
No daydreaming.
What are we gonna do, Willy?
Huh?
I love a light bulb.
Double huh?
Do you have a pencil and paper?
Uh-huh.
I got an idea. I know things haven't been easy for you. They're gonna get better.
You promise?
I pinky promise. That's the most solemn vow there is.
Where do we start?
A good chocolate chip is simple.
Where's this? It's just
Weird.
What's happening? Who wants a chocolate that makes it fly?
Let's find out, shall we?
Who's for a Humberjack? Nothing to see here. Just a small group of people defying the laws of gravity.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Gallery Gourmet, my name is Willy Wonka. He's good. Too good.
Yeah, pretty sure I've gained about 150 pounds in the last 2 weeks.
You could change her life, Mr. Wonka. Change all their lives.
Run away!
Every good thing in this world started with a dream. So you hold on to yours.
Here we go, Mama.
Aww, okay.
Mark my words. This is gonna be the greatest chocolate shop the world has ever seen. So you're the funny little man who's been following me.
I will have you know that I am a perfectly respectable size for an Oompa Loompa.
An Oompa what now?
Allow me to refresh your memory.
Oh, I don't think I want to hear that.
Too late. I've started dancing now.
Oh
Once we
my
started, we can't stop.
god. So that was the trailer for Wonka, and I absolutely love it. Like, I'm absolutely loving Timothée Chalamet's iteration of Wonka right here. Like, it's definitely a good blend of Gene Wilder and Johnny Depp. Like, of course, his outfit definitely screams Gene Wilder influence. Just again, the hat, the suit definitely has more of those iconic, vintage style that we saw from Gene Wilder's version. But also, it doesn't take away the fact that, for one thing, the character is very lighthearted. He's very high-spirited. I really love that about him, and that's something that we got from Gene Wilder's version. But also, there's definitely that hint of Johnny Depp's version in this character as well. Like, definitely the eccentricity is one thing. Like, he's definitely someone who comes out as a bit more peculiar because of his passion for chocolate making. And that's something that you can get right down bat in this whole trailer. Now, of course, one thing that, we were all kind of wondering, like, how they're going to play upon is the origin story for Wonka, because again, this is a prequel to Roald Dahl's book. So it's not exactly what we saw with the original, or at least not with the last two versions where we saw right down into the story of, not really his prime, but really kind of getting to a really big point in his, in his life where he does give out these five golden tickets so that, one of the kids who wins the actual big prize will take over the chocolate, business. And this is not what we're seeing here. This is definitely a prequel to that, seeing the origins, the backstory of who Wonka is, what influenced him to be sort of this chocolate maker and what got him to this point. And that's definitely clear from that. I like the fact that in this one, the way that they're trying to at least set up this whole, inspiration, his foil, or sort of what is basically kind of the big issue with what he has to deal with is, of course, the big factory corporation that is a chocolate makers. Like, I love how they're adding that subtleness to it with the corporation side and how that is making it hard for someone like, Wonka to actually build a business in chocolate making. So that's going to be very interesting because, again, that kind of dives a little bit into sort of like the whole real life, situation with about corporation, capitalism, all that sort of stuff. And that's what they're kind of playing around here. So that's going to be a very interesting thing to see, like how they're going to play around with that. But not just only that, right? I think one of the things I really love about this trailer is that it definitely shows a personal touch of who Wonka is. Now, this is something that we did not get a lot of with Gene Wilder's version. Like, that one was just pure character of this whole subtleness of who Wonka is in terms of how Wilder portrayed him. Like, he was definitely someone who, just was showing around, allowing all these kids to see kind of his inventions, but there was definitely that deep, subtle darkness within him that we see here and there. But like, that was just about it. We never really got into the depths of who he is as a character. We never really got to see the personal side of him. Whereas the latest one with Johnny Depp, that one definitely took a bit more of a personal touch into his backstory. Now, it wasn't as super deep as what we're seeing here. Like, this one is definitely going deep into the origin stories, but at least in that one, they actually touch upon what, influenced him, or at least what was basically the triggering point for how, Wonka became the chocolate maker. And that is, of course, his relationship with his father. And in this one, we kind of see, like, at least at the end of the trailer, we see, I believe it was Sally Hawkins, who appears to be playing Wonka's mother. That's going to be something that I'm like very curious to see. Like, it looks like as if there are blending in a little bit of that personal touch of his familiar side that we saw in the Johnny Depp version as well, where, that's probably what's going to play a big part on who inspired Wonka to become this chocolate maker. I'm assuming that she plays a big part of it. Maybe, it might play a little bit onto maybe some sort of his, lifestyle when he was a bit in the poor side, or maybe something that his mother had said that, influenced him or really pushed him to become this chocolate maker, or got him this idea to become this. So that is something that I'm really interested to see, like seeing all this blend of like the whole capitalism situation, his familiar stuff. Funny enough, in the beginning of the trailer, they actually show footage of him, trying to find the cocoa beans, right? Like, again, that's jump into sort of the version that we saw with Johnny Depp's one. So again, there's a very good blend of Gene Wilder and a Johnny Depp version of this Wonka story that we're seeing here. And doing so in a way that, again, this is a prequel, right? So, like, this is all a origin story of Wonka, you know, and his, you know, his rise into becoming this chocolate maker and eventually becoming this chocolate conglomerate. So that's gonna be very interesting to see. Like, again, I love the visuals that we're seeing here and there. A lot of the purple, like, you can definitely get the huge hints of purple here and there. Again, like, I really love Chalamet's version of this character, like this whimsical feel of him. Again, with that, you know, that version that we see with Gene Wilder, but also, again, at this, a bit of this peculiar side of Johnny Depp. I mean, it seems really promising. I mean, I don't believe we saw any musical or anything like that. We do see some dances here and there. Like, there's one where he is like holding onto a young girl as she's levitating onto the sky. So I'm going to assume that they're probably holding off on any of the musical bits for maybe the next trailer, or I don't know if they're going to even put one at any point, right? That's going to be a very interesting thing to see here, because, again, at least with the first two films, they do touch upon the musical style of it. Like, that's what made it very distinguishable. And I feel like here, like, even though I believe there's supposed to be some musical stuff into the, you know, the latest version, we don't really see it. Like, it doesn't seem as if they're touching upon it. I'm going to assume that, again, it's going to be all original songs, because the songs that we got in the original movie was based upon, like, you know, the songs were more based upon the actual children, not based upon Wonka. So, I mean, again, like, there's going to be a lot of questions going into it. They're kind of, it looks from the trailer, they are keeping some things hidden in terms of, like, what they're hoping to put into the film, like the musical stuff, the numbers and all that sort of stuff. But we do get to see the Oompa Loompa, who is played by Hugh Grant. That was definitely interesting. I believe he's playing a bobblehead. I think that's what I'm getting the vibes of. So it's not like what we saw in some of the other movies. Like, I think that he had initially, you know, discovered them. Like, I know in the second one, they do dive into this where at least Johnny Depp's version met with Oompa Loompa because he had, you know, traveled to their island, and that's how they got to meet him. But in this one, it's like, it seems as if he's just a bobblehead that he may have bought. So I'm very curious to see how that dynamic plays out, because that is definitely a very interesting one. Again, the Gene Wilder one never really goes too deep into how they became friends. So that is definitely one that I that was just a bit weird. But again, I don't mind any weirdness out of it. Like, I mean, it seems like it's going to be an interesting take. And Hugh Grant playing Oompa Loompa, like, wow. Like, I mean, we'll see how all that goes, of course. Like, again, that was just a small snippet of the Oompa Loompa that we see in the trailer. So hopefully then we'll see more of that actual Oompa Loompa, and maybe just more of the replicant of him, because of course, like, it's not just one Oompa Loompa, there was multiple Oompa Loompas. I mean, that's kind of what helped helped run his business in a big way. So, definitely a lot of interesting stuff. Again, this trailer is very promising. I love the vibe. I love the atmosphere. I love the visuals. It is very beautiful. Like, I mean, the visuals again seem, the tints of the purples, but also that very light hearted color. Like, it really kind of stands out, right? I think a lot of what we're seeing here, it really stands out with the color palette they're using onto this movie. So again, I think this seems like a really promising film to watch. It makes sense why it's coming on December. It definitely gives off that very Christmassy like vibe to it. Like, I think it definitely screams Christmas. And I guess, like, if you're going to be, you know, eating chocolate, you know, you might as well do it in Christmas, right? So, but yeah, I absolutely love this trailer. Chalamet looks amazing as Wonka. I can't wait to see the more footage that we do get out of this movie as we get closer and closer to the release date. I think, what is it? We're now in July. So we're about 5 months away from the release of this movie. So yeah, I absolutely love this trailer. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are about the first trailer for Wonka. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think it definitely gave a really good mix of Gene Wilder, Johnny Depp? Is that what you wanted? Is not what you wanted? What are some things that you're hoping to see out of Chalamet's, you know, portrayal as Wonka, as well as how they're going to deliver upon this prequel and his origin stories? What are some things you hope will end up happening? Do you like the vibe in general? Like, are you excited to see this film, or do you think you need to see a bit more of the visuals before you're convinced to go and see the theaters in December. And let me know in the comments down below, and make sure to like and subscribe.